guys, it's Tori, and today I'm going to be introducing a new TBR game. So as you can see, for those of you who have been watching my channel for a while, I am back in my parents' house. I'm just here for a few days for my Thanksgiving break. Technically, I only live like 15 minutes away, but I just wanted to spend a little more time with my family, and I have a neighbor who has been making strange noises. And so it's a little distracting, and I had a paper to write, so I was like, I may as well just stay at my parents' where it will be a little less distracting. So here I am, super fun. Plus now I can have my books in the background, which I always love. It's always sad when I'm off in my own apartment where I don't have quite as much room, so I live all my books with my parents, and then I'm not able to have them as my background, so this is really fun. But anyway, let's get into this video. Many of you know I have, in the past year or so, I've been doing a Bookopoly TBR each month where I have a Bookopoly board similar to Becca from Becca in the Books, and I have prompts that are involved with each space, and I end up coming up with a TBR for every 2 months is how I do it, just because I am a mood reader, but I also like the challenge, so I needed a balance, so I do it every other month for those 2-month rounds, and I really love doing it every other month. I love the challenge, again, with that mix of an ability to mood read, as I don't have quite as many prompts to fit in each month, if that makes sense. However, I recently have been reconsidering doing the Bookopoly TBR, and the reason why is because Becca from Becca in the Books has a huge channel, and oh, sorry if you heard that crashing. I don't even know what that was. Anyway, Becca's channel is really big, and her Bookopoly board is very well known, and I actually came up with this idea before I even saw her videos, which is kind of odd. I don't know how I missed them because she's so popular, but I hadn't seen them, and I came up with, you know, a Bookopoly board, and I was like, that will be so fun. I did find her videos, however, when I was looking for inspiration, because I figured someone had to have done something similar to that. Found hers, was kind of working with that as help, but for whatever reason I didn't realize how big her channel was, and I'm subscribed to it now, love her videos, but I started to realize on my channel that my most viewed videos were my Bookopoly videos, which is great. Awesome, love that. However, my subscriber count didn't necessarily go up very much with those videos, and also my views on my other videos didn't go up very much, and I started to consider why that might be. I realized that with my Bookopoly videos, because Becca is so big, most people finding my videos probably are aware of Becca's. And I think that a lot of those people have similar reading tastes to her and go into my videos expecting similar content, and I just don't have similar content to Becca. I love her channel, I subscribe to it, and I'm sure there are others who subscribe to it who are also interested in what I have to say about the books I like to read. She seems to read a lot more fantasy than I do currently in my life. I used to read a lot more than I do now. I still really like it, but I just don't read nearly as much, and she also reads different fantasy from what I read, even when I do read fantasy. So I just felt like the reason why people weren't subscribing, people weren't really watching my other videos, is primarily because I'm not actually what they're looking for. They thought the Bookopoly thing was fun, but that's about it. I'm not really the content creator they're looking for, and so it felt a little clickbaity to me because of that. So for the past couple months, I've been reconsidering doing my TBR game, how I'm going to do it, if I should do a new one, and I really love the game Apples to Apples. Growing up, I always played Apples to Apples and really loved it, and it was one of the few games I was actually good at. And so I wanted to do something with that, but I couldn't figure out how best to do it. However, I was in the shower one day, and, you know, light bulb moment. We always get those great light bulb moments in the shower, and I figured out how I could do that. So I decided to start this month. I'm just doing this one for December, although I will be continuing with my whole every other month thing because that just works better for me. Usually I'm going to start off doing 7 rounds, so 7 books that I'll be reading each time. I will punish myself if I don't get to one of those books by adding an additional prompt, but we're gonna start at baseline 7, and if that ends up being too easy, I might go up to 8, but we're gonna see how it goes. For this month in particular, since I'm just doing 1 month, I'm only doing 5 rounds, so still quite a bit, especially because half the month I'm going to be in school still, but I'm hoping that it ends up working out. Really, I'm excited about this TBR game because I feel like it will be a great way for me to get books off my TBR that have been there forever, books that maybe I really want to read still, but I just haven't found the right time for it, and I have other books that I'm more interested in, and I think it will just really propel me to get through some of my books on my TBR shelves over here that I really need to get off. I am, however, a little bit nervous about it because with the Bookopoly prompts, it was very easy for me to switch out one of the books for, let's rephrase that. It was very easy for me to take one of the prompts, choose a book at the time, and then later find I'm not in the mood for that, and then switch it for another book that also meets that prompt. So my mood reading was very easy to deal with that way. Usually I only did it once around, so that was good, but I was able to do that. And this game, I'm not able to do that because I'm going to be picking very specific books for very specific words, as you'll see when I explain the game in a second, which means I have no flexibility, which means that there's a higher chance I'm gonna have to punish myself, which for you guys is probably going to be entertaining, and honestly for me, I think it will be more fun that way, just being able to have more of those punishments. With Bookopoly I rarely did because I could just change the book if I wanted to and my mood reading wasn't damaged too bad. So anyway, let's just get into it, starting with an explanation of how the game works. Okay, so as you can see here, we have 3 separate decks of cards. The red and the blue over here contain all the books on my physical TBR, so all the books I physically own that I need to get through. The blue books are classics, the reds are non-classics, and I did this because I have majority classics, but I didn't want to like have a month where I only read classics or only read non-classics. I really wanted a mix for each round, so I decided to separate them to ensure that I have a higher chance of getting a good mix of them both. And then over here, if you've ever played Apples to Apples, you know the green cards contain words and they will act as prompts for my book choosing. Also, I apologize with these green cards for those of you who have OCD for the uneven lines. Unfortunately, I could not figure out how to fix that when I was doing it, and it just kind of worked out that way. These 2 decks should be okay, but with the green ones, for some reason, I was just really struggling with it. So anyway, before I get into showing you exactly how this works, I do want to mention some special cards that are in these 2 decks. So in the red deck, there is at least one, I can't remember if I put 1 or 2, but there's at least one that says audiobook, and that is for books that I don't necessarily own, but I like to listen to on audiobooks. Most of those are nonfiction. I don't tend to collect nonfiction books because I don't think I'll ever reread most of them. However, I do really like to listen to them on audiobook, so I like to have that option for there. I also, in the blue deck, I have one that says Shakespeare, one that says, I think, Greek and Roman plays or something like that, and one that says Sherlock Holmes. Those cards just allow me a little bit more flexibility, just because with Shakespeare, I have like over 20 plays by him that I'd like to get to. I want to get to all his plays, and I did not want to write a card for each one, so I just decided to do one blanket Shakespeare card. Same with the Greek Roman plays. I just have several that I want to get to, didn't want to separate them out, so I just put them all there. And then Sherlock, I want to go through the series, hopefully in order, and I didn't want to have to add a new card every time I got to a new book, so I just decided to put Sherlock Holmes there, and I could read whatever book I wanted in that series if I get that. So there's that, and then both of these decks also have a reread card. If I get a reread that's a red, that means I need to reread a non-classic, and if I get a reread in blue, that means it has to be a reread of a classic. Just because I love to reread and I wanted to have that be an option as well. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to pick 7 of the blue and red cards to set up. I will set them up right in the space here, and then I will pick out 1 green card. I think for this first time I'm going to do 4 reds and 3 blues. So the first one we have here is Thomas Hardy, The Time-Torn Man. This is I believe it's by Claire Tomlin, and it is a nonfiction about Thomas Hardy. Then we have Of Human Bondage. I'm sorry I did not write the author names on here, but I will tell you them if I end up picking these books. So Of Human Bondage. Next we have Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I do remember that. David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. So we got a long one in there. An audiobook. So I think for this audiobook, before I end up picking the prompt for this round, I'm going to choose the 5 about the women that Jack the Ripper murdered, because I really, really want to get to that one, and so perfect opportunity. Middlemarch by George Eliot. That is a long one. Hopefully, yeah, I don't know if I want to read that in December, but we'll see. And the last one is The Hazelwood. So there's our 7. So for each round, I am allowed to choose one book that I can exchange for a new card, but I can't exchange any more after that. So, for the sake of this, I think I'm going to exchange David Copperfield, one of the longer classics, just because I just don't know if I want to. I won't mind it, but I think David Copperfield, of these 3, because Of Human Bondage is kind of long too. Of those 3, I think David Copperfield is the one I least want to get to right now. So we'll replace that with a Greek/Roman plays. I'm sorry about this weird crossing out of Aeschylus. I started off planning to separate them out, and then I decided to just put them all in one. So anyway, cool. So for the Greek-Roman plays, I'm going to choose, I think it's called Oedipus at Colonus. I could be misrepresenting that, but I will show it to you if I end up picking this. But it's the Oedipus Rex, the single Oedipus Rex play that we have that I have not read yet. So I think that would be fun, and it will be a short one, which will be nice. Okay, so we have my 7 choices, and now we're going to pick the green card. Guilty. Okay, so I need to pick books based on what I know of the synopsis, which may not be a lot, that I think might work for this. So definitely the 5 would work for this because, you know, guilty. Jack the Ripper. I think we could do the Oedipus Rex play since that makes sense to me. I am not sure about the rest of these though. I think Middlemarch and Of Human Bondage might have something about it that would work, but I'm not sure, so I'm not going to count those. So between these 2, I think I'm going to go with the 5 just because I really, really want to get to that one. I want to get to that one after I finish The Hunchback of Notre Dame. So we'll just take advantage of that and pick that out as my first read for the month. Okay, so for the first round, I ended up picking a book that's not on my physical TBR, so off to a great start with that goal on this game. But anyway, I ended up picking the 5 The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper by Hallie Rubenhold. I had it on my computer to make sure I got the whole title correct and the author's name because I keep forgetting it. But anyway, this is a nonfiction, as I mentioned, that follows the stories of the 5 women that Jack the Ripper is accused of killing, and I'm very interested. I've heard a lot of great things about this one. It's also not a very long audiobook, so I think it will be really easy to get to in December, and just kind of add that dark Victorian vibe, which I feel like Victorian literature just reminds me of like the eerie fall, winter vibes for whatever reason. Some of it is kind of summery, really all year round. There's different vibes within Victorian literature, but there's a lot that are like more gothic in tone, and this is set in that sort of gothic Victorian London setting with these women ending up being murdered. So I'm really looking forward to listening to this, even though it's not getting a book off my physical TBR. I am still interested in how it goes. Okay, so since I took a red, I'm going to replace it with another red. Oh, and we have another audiobook. I think I'm automatically going to exchange that one just because I don't want to listen to too many audiobooks, and I know myself and I know I can't get through that many. Plus, I really want to get through physical TBR as much as possible. So next we have Beartown, by Fredrik Backman. That makes me really excited. So that was my one exchange, and we are going to pick the next green card. Curse. Okay, so I think the Hazelwood will work for this. I don't know exactly if there is a curse, but I'm pretty sure there's something to do with that. And Strange the Dreamer might have something like that too. Both of these are fantasy books, so I feel like it would make sense. I think I'm going to go with the Hazelwood because I feel a little more confident that there's a curse involved in that one. And I just think it will be fun to read a dark fairy tale type story for December. Okay, so the second book for the month is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This is a YA dark fairy tale inspired story, I believe. I believe it follows a young girl whose grandmother wrote these dark fairy tales, and she lives in this mysterious place called the Hazelwood that this granddaughter has never really been to. However, when the grandmother passes away, she leaves this land to her daughter and granddaughter, and the daughter really doesn't want anything to do with this. This main character's mother really doesn't want anything to do with this place. I think she just wants to get rid of it. But this granddaughter, when she goes to the Hazelwood, ends up discovering some mysterious things, like maybe her grandmother's fairy tale book is not completely fiction. Other than that, I don't know much, but I'm really looking forward to reading this. I think this will be another fun, like, darker read for the Christmas winter time, and I hope it's one that I'm able to just fly through and enjoy, especially because I'll probably try to get to this early on in the month while I'm still in school, so it can just be a light read while I'm still dealing with school stress. So anyway, looking forward to that. Okay, so replacing again with another red, we have Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. Sounds wonderful. And then I think I'm going to... Do I want to exchange Middlemarch or Of Human Bondage? Because I think both of those I don't really want to read, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind reading one of them. The thing is, Of Human Bondage is shorter, but Middlemarch sounds a little more intriguing to me right now, so if I'm going to get one of them, I think I'd rather get this. But it's longer. But I guess I could just spread it out throughout the month. I'm gonna exchange Of Human Bondage and get Wives and Daughters. So we didn't really exchange for a much shorter book, but that's okay. Okay, our third green prompt. Separated. Okay. I think The Time-Torn Man, Thomas Hardy, that would work because I know basically him and his first wife were essentially separated. I believe Beartown could work for this because this town is separated due to this big event that occurs. And Strange the Dreamer might work because I know that there's like this world or the city or something that's been separated from everything else. Eleanor Oliphant could work for being like social anxiety, feeling separated from everybody else. I think Wives and Daughters and Middlemarch both deal with separated, like, marriages. I don't know if it's, like, necessarily separated as in, like, separated, or if it's, like, death. But since I have these options, I think I'm going to choose from one of these. And I think I'm going to do Beartown because I really am wanting to get to that one. And I feel like this is a good opportunity. Okay, apparently we're reading a lot of darker themes this month because the next book I chose was Beartown by Fredrik Backman, and I'm really excited to read this, actually. I have never read a Fredrik Backman. I've heard amazing things about this one, and I just think I'm going to love it. This follows a small town in Canada where hockey is the big thing. Everybody loves hockey. Their team is getting better and better and starting to win some recognition, and things are going great. However, one night, one of the popular hockey players ends up raping this girl in the town, and we just sort of follow the fallout of that. We follow several different people in the town and their different reactions to this, and good and bad, and I'm just really excited to read this. This is a topic that I'm very passionate about, and I really enjoy getting a different look at from different perspectives, and I think this will offer a lot of good perspective on this whole situation, which is just so tragic, but it's a very real thing, and I think it's going to be very heavy, but I've heard Fredrik Backman's writing is beautiful, and I've just heard nothing but great things about this book. Okay, so let's I'm going to fill in with another classic this time, just because I haven't gotten a classic yet, and I want to improve my chances. So Indiana by George Sand, that's actually a really good one because it's a lot shorter. And then I think I'm going to exchange Thomas Hardy, The Time-Torn Man, just because I don't know how much I'm in the mood for that. So we will be replacing that one with a reread. So since it's red, that means it has to be a non-classic, and I think I'm going to go with Inkspell by Cornelia Funke. as the one for this. So that's what that's going to act as, because I would really like to get to that, if possible, before the end of the year. So, next green card, growing. Wow, this is kind of hard. I mean, Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine, could work because she's kind of growing as a person, growing socially, I guess, in that. Strange the Dreamer, the world is growing. I guess we could say the same for Inkspell, the world is growing. And I feel like both Wives and Daughters and Middlemarch, we kind of follow people growing in their life, like growing up, but I'm not completely sure on that. But I also still don't have a classic for the month. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with Inkspell as the world is growing, because that sounds like a good, easy read. Okay, so apparently 2 out of these 5 books are not going to help me get physical books off my TBR, but that's okay. The 4th book I ended up choosing was Inkspell by Cornelia Funke. This is a reread for me, and I'm very much looking forward to rereading this. I actually really wanted to get to this in December, so I don't feel too bad about it. But this is the 2nd book in a series, a middle grade fantasy series, the first one following a young girl named Maggie who discovers that her father has the ability to read things out of books, and that at one point in his life he read living human beings out, and it caused all sorts of chaos. And this is, like I said, the sequel to that, and I remember really liking the sequel even better than the first one when I first read him in like 6th grade. So I'm hoping that stays true and I just continue to love this series. And yeah, it's just such a beautiful middle grade series. If you haven't read it yet, definitely give it a try. I will say the first book is a little on the slower side, especially for a middle grade. However, it's so magical and whimsical, and if you love books, they're just some of the best like books about books that I've ever read, and I'm very excited to read this. It's kind of long, but because it's a middle grade, I think it's gonna be pretty easy to get through. Like, the writing's pretty big. I think it's like 650 pages, so definitely pretty long, but I think we'll make it work. We'll be able to get through it, hopefully. So anyway, very excited to pick this up. Hopefully on this last round we can get a classic in here so I can enjoy that, but I don't know, we'll see. Okay, so we'll replace once again with another blue, so we have a lot of classics. The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins, that could be fun. And then I think I'm going to actually exchange the Greek and Roman plays, because I'm not like that interested in reading that right now. So I'm going to replace that with Little Men. So this is the sequel to Little Women, which will be fun if I can end up reading that. And our last card for this month is Family. Okay, so Little Men definitely works for that. I believe Middlemarch and Wives and Daughters also works for that. And Indiana also works for that. I think the Moonstone also might involve like a mystery amongst a family as well, but I'm not as sure on that, so I'm not going to do that one. I really want to get to this, but I just don't think I'm super in the mood to do it, so we're not gonna do that one. I think Middlemarch is a little too long and intense for me right now, so we're not gonna do that one. So between Indiana and Wives and Daughters, and I mean Wives and Daughters, it's in the title, the family. Wives and Daughters are family, but Indiana's a lot shorter. And I mean, this is kind of talking about the tearing up of a family, and this is kind of more focused on family. But do I want to read this in December? I think I do. I think I'm going to go with Wives and Daughters. That is going to be my last read for the month. Whew, okay, so the last one, Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. This suddenly made this TBR a lot more intimidating because this is kind of a longer book and it's Victorian, which means it's just going to take me a little more time to get through. I think I have it figured out where I think I'm going to wait until the week I start finals, because I'm only going to be taking my finals Monday, Tuesday that week in the afternoon, and both of those should only take maybe an hour, and then I'll be done. I'm not going to really study that week. I'm just going to take my tests in the beginning of the week, get them over with, and be done with school. So I feel like it will be very doable for me to just start this that week and just read. I think it's about 40 pages when I did the math, about 40 pages a day to finish it by the 31st of December. So I think that's what I'm going to try to do with this, so that I can kind of spread it out and enjoy it while also not overwhelming myself with feeling like I have to read it fast. Plus, at that point, I will be able to get to the other books as well. Like, I'll have a lot more time to read, a lot more time. In fact, I'm a little stressed about what I'm going to do with myself during that time. I think it will be fun for a few days, but I'm only going to have work, no school, and I'm only part-time at both my jobs. Granted, I'm still working every day pretty much, but I'm gonna be like alone in my apartment, which again, reading-wise, that's gonna be great, but I also know myself and know I need a little bit of social interaction, so I'll have to figure out some stuff to do with myself, but I will definitely be able to read this after that point. So I think that's gonna be my goal with this, just the second half of the month, focus on getting through this. I am a little sad because I had hoped that North and South would be my first Gaskell, or my next Gaskell, I mean, after Ruth, which I read in October. I was not planning on getting to this anytime soon, but apparently Books to Books has something different in mind for me, so I will be reading this. And I am pretty excited. I know this is Kate Howe's favorite Gaskell novel, and one of her favorite novels of all time, if not her favorite novel of all time. So I'm very interested. I really don't know much about it beyond, like, I think there's a blended family situation, but yeah, other than that, I really know nothing. So, oh, and I do know that it doesn't actually end. I mean, you know where it's going to end because it almost was finished, but Gaskell died before she was able to finish it. So I know it's a little bit of a cliffhanger in a way, but that's okay. Anyway. Excited to read this, a little nervous, but excited. And that is it. That is my first round of Books to Books. Let me know down below what you think of this game, if you like it. I think I'm keeping my Bookopoly board because my sister helped me make it, and she's kind of sad that I'm ditching it for now. So I might, maybe in like the summer or something, we'll do like a little summer special where I have a round maybe for the first half of summer or something where I do Bookopoly instead, just to keep doing it a little bit, but we'll see. I don't really know what I'm going to do, but anyway, thanks so much for watching. Also, let me know if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts were on them, as I would love, love, love to know, and I will see you next time. Bye!